Welcome to the Infinite Podcast. My name is Carlos Andres Ruiz, and I am with my friend Owen Miller. How you doing today, Owen?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be a guest here.
We weren't sure if we were going to open it to guests or not, but here you are. I think we have a lot of very good conversations, and there was one episode where we talked about what infinite is, and we went along with the idea of timeless. And I think so many of our conversations, at the end of the conversation, it's like, oh, there were some timeless principles in some of these conversations, topics or things that we talk about. So if we can capture a couple of timeless topics or things that we talk about, that would be great. But before we go into all that, we got to tell people who you are.
Yes.
So for me, he's a friend, and I'll leave it at that. Owen, who is Owen Miller?
Yes, Owen Miller. Grew up in Medford, Massachusetts. I went to UMass Lowell. It's actually how I met Andres. He was my coach there. And before we get into anything, funny little story. I was an incoming freshman at an ID camp, and they had all the they had all the players, the UMass Lowell players there. And I was going to be a freshman that year, and Andres was a coach. And he came up to me. I don't know if you remember this.
Wow.
And he said, "What year are you in high school?" And I was really heartbroken because I was like, no, I'm actually going to be on the team that you're coaching this season.
Wait, what ID camp was it?
It was like the UMass Lowell, like the incoming one.
UMass Lowell one.
And
Okay.
I was like a player at that point,
Yeah,
but in
yeah.
your head, you're like, oh, who's this like junior in high school coming here? And I was like, all right, well, that kind of tells me where I stand in the pecking order at UMass Lowell. But
When I said that, did you feel it was I was talking about your skill or the way you look?
no, thank God it was just the way I looked because I hadn't touched
No,
the
but
ball.
what did you think? Oh, you hadn't
I
touched
hadn't touched the ball.
Okay,
thank
got it.
yeah. But so that's how I met Andres. From there, so I played at UMass Lowell, graduated, and went straight into coaching. So I moved out to Spain. I was there for 6 months working for a company called Iturre. And then since then, I've worked full-time at the club level. I coached both at Boston College, and now I currently coach at Emerson College. And I also run my own soccer training organization called Flow Soccer with my business partner and friend of myself and Andres named David Gaitis.
Let's go a little bit backwards more. You started at UMass Lowell. What was your soccer career like before UMass Lowell?
Yeah, so I kind of played, so I started just playing regular town soccer. First time I ever played soccer, actually, I threw up. I was so nervous at 4 years
Really?
old. I left the field, and my dad said, just give it one more shot. So it's funny to think where I would be if I just said, no, I'm not giving it another shot.
At 4?
4 years old, yeah.
You remember wanting to puke?
Yes, I remember the whole thing. I remember my dad being very disappointed in me, and I remember that, like, bringing me to the next one, and he's like, all right, we got to keep this going. So stayed kind of in the town system for a couple years.
Which town?
Medford, yeah. And then when I was 8, I joined a club called Boston Blast, which I believe you played for as well.
Yeah.
So I played for Boston Blast. Then
Remind me, who was your coach?
it's a guy named Jimmy.
Yes. We've talked about
Yeah.
that. Yeah. The curly hair.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Then from there, I went to a club called Sachens, which is now SFC. So I was there for a year.
Yes.
Then I was at a team called AC Arlington for a year. Very good team.
Yeah.
Very good team. And then from there, I was at Bolts, and then throughout high school, I played at NEFC, as well as Medford High was a big part of my soccer career, playing at Medford High. Definitely shaped.
So you went 4 years at NEFC?
4 years at NEFC. So up until 6th through 8th grade, I was at Bolts, and then 9th through 12th grade, I was at NEFC, and then Medford High in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first recollection of an experience with Owen was, I think that was you. I'm pretty sure that was you. It was you, Guy, and myself. Was there one more person?
There was Mauro.
Mauro was there.
Yep.
Okay. That is when I tried. I was like, when was the first time that I?
Wow, you remember that?
Yes, I remember that. That was. I remember when we were going in, and it was like a. But you hadn't started.
No, that was like going into my freshman year.
Yeah.
And Guy was so cool. Like I remember he messaged me on Instagram, and he was like, because I knew he was a captain. I met him last year, and he's like, hey bud, when you're like younger, you're like, hey, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
He's like, come on to campus. We're doing some like captain's practice stuff. And I remember the first day I was there, he's like, well, this is Carlos, and he's gonna be the coach, and this is Mauro as well.
I was done playing by then.
Yeah, you were done playing. Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, this is Mauro as well. He's done playing, and then it was Guy. So I was like, this is a captain's practice. It's just me and Guy. And I remember, like, I did decent, but like I remember being like, who is Mauro? Like, who is this? And he's like, dude, Mauro is nasty.
His footwork?
Yeah, because we're doing rondos.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, afterwards, Guy's like, man, like, he's like, you did decent out there. I'm like, dude, is this what I'm coming into?
Yeah. And neither of us were actually players anymore. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
It was crazy because Mauro ended up in a. Actually, I don't even know if we might have to edit this
Okay.
part, but he went to jail, and
Got it.
and
Did not know that.
and so one time we were playing at Mahoney, and then Mauro came in, and then I was like, "Yo, how was that experience?" And then he was like, "We were just playing pickup, and I was megging people with the basketball." Which is like, yes, I can see that happening.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That being said, I do feel like as a coach, sometimes I forget about the individual spectacle that
Right.
should also be part of it. That I do think is being lost.
Yeah.
And I'll enjoy if PSG wins, maybe from the selfish coach perspective,
Yeah.
more than soccer.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know why this Barca. I love Yamal. Yamal, is that?
Yeah,
is that,
yeah.
Is, how you say his name? I do think he's special.
He's special.
I think he has what I felt Mbappé was missing when I would say that Mbappé is nasty.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have this something about Yamal that has this like street, but maturity,
Yeah.
but speed, but I don't know. It just feels like a mature Neymar and Ronaldinho.
Yeah.
I don't think you could ever be as captivating as Ronaldinho, but he does feel like, and at 17.
17. It is crazy though because you look at it, and I love Yamal too, and I definitely want to get into that. And it was funny because I was watching it the other day, and I was like, wow, this guy's 17. But then sometimes it's almost I sometimes wonder if it's like I watched videos. First of all, I was watching a video of Messi at 17. I was like, okay, this is like, then it actually
Just
does
to
put things
compare?
in perspective. Yeah. But at the same time, sometimes I don't know how healthy it is to be that good that young. And I look at, I don't know if healthy is the right word, but like Mbappé, if you rewatch clips of him in the 2018 World Cup, he was 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He was he's playing better then than he is now. And I
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
wonder, like I look at Luka Doncic started his pro career when he was like, I don't know, the age, 15, 16 in Europe. So you're essentially starting earlier, so you probably will peak earlier.
You think so?
I wonder. I don't know. I just think now with how much these players are playing with international duty and how much, like just like fixture congestion is what they call it, like just how many games they have. I'm just wondering if this many games for Lamine Yamal at a young age, we'll see. Because right now it's, what am I going to say? Don't play him.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? But
Do you think they will peak earlier, but peak higher?
I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about sports science. It's more of just kind of like a theory. I think that, I don't think that, this is the thing with Yamal. I think he's a superstar. I think he's like unbelievable. And I do love the kind of like, just the kind of FU confidence he has. Like, give me the ball, no matter what the stage is. I still think he has a ceiling, and his ceiling is still a level below Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah.
You know?
For me, Messi, what makes Messi unique is that it felt like he didn't even know that he was that good.
Yeah.
Yamal, it feels like he knows who he is, and that immediately puts a ceiling on you in any domain.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the hair.
Yeah.
You know, and it just, unfortunately, like at that age, I don't know why Messi didn't feel or didn't have those expressions. He did have the yellow hair at one point, or blonde hair at one point.
Yeah, he did.
But
Forgot about that.
but growing up, as he was growing up from 17 or 16, I never got the feeling that he knew who he was.
Yeah. Which is a blessing in disguise, is kind of what.
Yeah. Which I think that might be that which sets the ceiling.
Yeah.
Or gives you a ceiling. I don't know. But I mean, for the sake of the sport, I would love for him to stay healthy and do things that other people haven't done.
Yeah.
Argentina, Spain are gonna end up playing in the finalissima.
Yes. Yeah.
That's gonna be like the street versus
The art.
Is it the art?
I think it's the art.
You think it's art?
I think it's the art because, you know, I do want to talk a little bit about the Argentinian national team in a bit because I love kind of your thoughts on the who within them. But before we get into that, I think when I say the art for Spain, I think that Pep,
Pep? Who's that?
Josep,
Josep.
he in 2008, like, you know, just when, actually, I guess when Spain became an international powerhouse in 2008, regardless of Pep, they did have a very possession-based style. They had a very clear way of playing, and it is different now. But I think in this past Euros, it was the first time in a while where it was like, this is our way of playing. These are our tactics. These are our players. We have a new generation, and it almost feels kind of an artistic way of playing. Like, they're so tactically organized. They play so well, and like, it's not the same because it's not like they're playing with a false nine, and it's not like they're, you know, playing with 7 midfielders like they used to. Like, they do have true wingers like Yamal and Nico Williams, but like, it does feel like it is like a true expression of the sport. This current Spain team.
So do you think that will outweigh? So if you describe Spain as art, what do you describe Argentina as?
Grit.
Grit?
Yeah, I was gonna say passion, but like grit. They are like, I mean, for the past like 5 years or whenever they've just started, whenever Scaloni, right?
Yeah.
Became the coach. There's something special about that team where they just feel unstoppable. Like, you cannot beat them. They have a little bit of everything in regards to, like, they have just like absolute bulldogs in the midfield.
Yeah.
They have technicians. They have Messi. They have everything. But
I think minus Messi, though, man for man, everybody is significantly cleaner.
Yeah.
In Spain.
Yeah.
Like, the goalie might be better than some. Than some midfielders. Technically.
But they're just like, they have this like true passion for Messi's legacy and for the country of Argentina.
So who do you say is going to win?
I think Argentina.
Really?
I really do. I just think they feel unstoppable.
Who do you want?
I think Spain. I mean, when I was 8 in 2008, I went to Spain. My dad was teaching a 5-week study abroad course, so I went to Spain, and that was during the Euros. And I remember we got there, and you know, we were like, oh, they haven't had a ton of international success recently. And then we were there, my family was there for the first kind of bit of success for Spain. And then I obviously, like I mentioned, spent some time there. So I have a little bit of a connection to Spain.
You've never been to Argentina?
Never been to Argentina.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's why you would like Spain.
I think I'd like Spain.
It has nothing to do with the difference in soccer.
No.
Okay. I know you didn't ask, but who would I think? I do this with Mel all the time. I think I want Argentina to win.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that I think I have a feeling that they might not be able to keep up with Spain.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if it was a World Cup final, it could be different.
Yeah.
I don't think Messi's legacy will be affected by this game. It's just always great for them to keep adding cherries to this thing. But I think the biggest differentiator in the World Cup, because I feel the same. I don't know how they found a way around France. Like, the last 20 minutes of the game against France was what I thought was going to be the whole game.
Yeah. Yes.
But the Argentina I saw in the first half,
oh my God,
it was one of the. It was almost like the art and the street came together. But I don't think that they have it in them. Where is it going to be? Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Probably Saudi Arabia, honestly.
Then Messi's going to.
Yeah.
And if they get Rodri back, even without Rodri, I think they're just such a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
I think Argentina's is very much, I don't think it's arrogance, but I do think they believe that they're going to walk into any game.
Yeah.
But I think I want to say that will be the beginning of the downfall of Argentina.
Yeah.
I don't see them winning another World Cup.
Yeah, I don't either. I think what is so impressive about this Argentina team, and I was just thinking this as you were saying that, it's just like the selflessness there, where it's like they all are playing for, there's no like, I was gonna say there's no superstar, as if the greatest player of all time is on the team, but like there's no one there that is like, that I think wants to be the main character. And so there's 10 people on the field that are just, they will do anything for the win that game. And there are players on other teams, for example, maybe, I don't know, Portugal, who if their team wins but they don't score, they're upset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whereas Argentina, everyone is so selfless. They're fighting for their country and
Yeah.
they're fighting for Messi. And Messi is kind of a selfless player in
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that because of that, like, there's no one that thinks they're bigger than that team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there has been different effects. The Messi effect, there's been different layers of it. I think at the beginning of this Argentina team, the Messi effect was just how good he is.
Yeah.
And he is the differentiator. And then in the World Cup, I think it was a mixture of that and everybody wanting him to do something that will be timeless.
Yeah.
And now I think the Messi effect is that even though all of these players may want to be the star, nobody can say that.
Yeah.
Whether you want to or don't want to,
Right.
they cannot say that they want to be a star because they have Messi.
Yeah.
And so there's this weird, almost like chemical component to the fact that because we have Messi, we can walk the streets arrogant, but because we have Messi, we can't be arrogant.
Yeah.
Because we can't be the best
Yeah.
individually. And I think that mixture is what has made him still continue to win a lot of games, which is ironic because now Messi's, I never consider the fact that Messi's keeping them humble,
Yeah.
but I don't think he's doing it intentionally.
Yeah.
I think he's just, because of his presence, everybody else like, well, no matter how good we are, we walk into here, we're not going to be better than Messi.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if we're very talented, there's a legacy to Messi, not just how good he is today, but what he's done in, it would be too many years. It would be somebody's entire career to be able to give a proposal.
Right.
One question that came up yesterday, do you feel that Yamal would have still been this this good or this relevant if Messi was still in Barca?
No, I don't think he will. I don't think so.
Why?
I think that for the same exact reason, I think what makes Yamal so special is his kind of like healthy arrogance in a way. And like you said, it's very difficult to be the healthy. It's difficult to be arrogant when Messi's on your team.
Shit.
And then I think at the same time, because of Messi's age and where he's at in his career, and kind of like in general, like, you know, you have to do a lot of defensive work if Messi's on your team.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, like, you look at this current Barcelona team, there's of course so many technical players on it, but like they're very athletic. They move. They're like the way that they just attack, like just so effective in transition. And I just look at that and I'm like, I feel like that suits Yamal, and I don't know if they would have to play differently. So, and then I also think like Yamal is a player that is. I'm so glad that Hansi Flick plays a 4-3-3 with a right winger. He's not making him an inverted 10 or whatever it may be.
Would he have struggled playing under Pep?
I don't know if he'd struggle because he's that good, but
Yeah.
he wouldn't thrive. And I think that like they allow him Flick is allowing him so much creativity. I think he's so good as a right winger off the right. And I know Messi can kind of play everywhere, but Messi likes to drift right as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see at the end of the day. Maybe it would be.
So
But yeah.
I was talking to Dunya, and she was talking about how he had some similarities to Neymar, in like, not just, I don't know if style, but like arrogance and way to carry themselves.
Yeah.
And where we landed was like what probably was difficult for Neymar was that he had to live next to Messi.
Yeah.
You know, while being Brazil's number 10.
Yeah.
And it's like opposing tensions that like, if you're Brazil's number 10, you have to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
But you're playing with the best in the world. And it's almost like there was a side of him that wanted him to prove that.
Right.
But Messi almost disarmed him with how good he is as a person and as a player.
Yeah.
And it limit Neymar to the point that he just left. And I don't blame him for leaving.
Yeah.
But I do think he would have had to make a decision. Do I want to leave a legacy of a team that has become the best team to ever play? Or do I continue to build Neymar and Brazil? And that's a tough decision. But even then, I think it's interesting to consider that when somebody is so talented, it affects the peak of others.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And then like you look at the difference between Neymar and Yamal at Barca is that Neymar at least had already become a name in Brazil, and then he went to Barcelona, whereas Yamal was from La Masia, like he had to kind of burst out through Barca. And if Messi's there, who knows what would happen.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and either Messi could like take on like Ronaldinho.
Yeah.
But I don't think like Ronaldinho was unique. Like he had that.
Yeah.
I think Messi it affects the whole team, but I think he's not really good at affecting an individual and taking them under his wing.
Yeah.
I think Ronaldinho was unique in that sense that he was that good.
Yeah.
And then he took this kid and gave him all this.
Yeah.
We've mentioned the word peak a couple times. I wasn't intending to talk about peak, but what would you say was the peak of your player career? Or did you never hit it?
Yeah. Do you mean was there a peak moment or like the peak time, if that makes sense?
You could pick whichever one.
Yeah. I'll say the peak time.
Okay.
The peak moment was when I scored against Albany. I mean, it's really tough.
Yes.
That's an easy one, so that's too quick of an answer.
Wait, you scored. You can't just say I scored against Albany.
Yes,
But what was the?
It was my sophomore year, and I know the people that if there's people that are watching that I'm friends with, they're gonna be laughing because they joke that I always bring this up. But sophomore year, we were playing in the America East quarterfinals at home, and it was I believe the 88th minute, and I told our coach at the time, I said, he never let me go up for set pieces. I always had to stay back. It was me and Abdi that would have to stay back. And I was like, Coach, I want to go up on set pieces. And so for that game, I was going up on set pieces. And then, 88th minute, 87th minute, Yakov takes a corner, bounces around, Vlagi's on the ground at some point, and I just toe poke it in. And I remember it was this weird feeling of just like, that didn't actually happen. You know what I mean? So I ran to the corner with Yakov and all them, and I remember I jumped in midair and did a fist pump, and I thought I was like 5 feet off the ground, and you watch it, I got like an inch off the ground. It was like the ugliest fist pump, but it was amazing. I mean, it was like it was really interesting because it was like definitely taught me a lot about soccer because
that moment,
that week, because we won 1-0, game ended then 2 minutes later, and then we advanced to the semifinals against UNH 3 days later, and we lost 2-0, and I tore my meniscus, and that was when all the injuries.
That game?
That game. I didn't even know. It was meniscus. So it was an ACL.
Okay.
I didn't even know I tore it because like so much adrenaline.
Yeah.
The next day I couldn't walk, and then they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna need to, give you a surgery." And it was so weird because like 6 days ago I was like I thought,
wow,
yeah, it's weird.
How it could just go.
Just like that. Yeah.
So you talked about the peak moment. Did you have a different peak time?
Yeah. This is a long time, so I'll
You were at your peak for a long time, or this was a long time ago?
This is a long time ago.
Okay.
But I would say that my peak was probably like 6th to 8th grade.
Oh, okay.
At when I was playing at Bolts, I had Bob Thompson was actually my coach, the current BC coach, and I think I grew a little awkwardly once I hit high school. So I think that like changed the way I moved a little bit, but this was prior to that. And I felt free. Like I think once I hit high school, I mean, it was still great. I loved high school, I loved college soccer, but like it was, when I was in middle school, it was, when you think about it too, and I was actually thinking about this on the way here, a lot of people say, I play soccer, right? Play is a word that's really important because as you get older and you reach higher levels, you're not playing.
What are you doing?
You should be playing. And I think Yamal is playing, but I think instead you are focused too much on instructions. You're thinking rather than playing, because when you play, you're not thinking. You're just going. You're in the flow state. Flow soccer, follow it on Instagram. But when I was in middle school and prior to that, I was playing. And when you're playing, you're expressing yourself as much as possible. And I think that as I got older, I was worried about throughout high school, am I going to commit to a college? I'm in college, am I going to keep my starting spot? Middle school, I'm just playing. I show up and I don't know who we're playing. Oh, we're playing GPS today. Great. I don't know who's on their team. I don't know what formation they're playing. Yeah. If they press with 2, I'm not like, okay, does that mean I have to invert? Like, you're just playing. Yeah. And I think that was probably when you're truly playing, you're your happiest, and when you're your happiest, you're your best.
You said that, because I think this is a good question when it comes as we develop into whatever the next stage of our careers are. And for you, it was a coach. You're a coach now. And you were talking about how Spain's style is an art. And then maybe the contrast between their art, that I think part of their art is their ability to think in such a structured manner, which decreases, I think, a bit of the play while everybody gets into the structure. Is it possible for the individual to not lose play as they embrace that? Or if you want to be an individual that always is in play, you can't be in that environment?
I think the first thing you said, where it is possible. And I am extremely inspired by those who rise up in the levels and don't lose who they are as a player. We've talked about it. Bernardo Silva is a perfect example. He's on Man City in maybe the most structured coach of all time. And we've talked about it. He's just playing pickup. He'll he'll be pressing you.
He'll be a center back at some point in the game.
Yeah, he'll be a center back. He'll literally just receive it between the two center backs, go back and forth, looking back and forth, taking touch on the ball. I think you look at someone like I think right now you mean Lamine Yamal. I know he's kind of the main character of this conversation, but like he has this like, I'm just going to play the way that I play no matter what. Against Inter the other day when they're down 2-1, he's not like, okay, so if Pedri gets the ball here, I need to make this right. He's like, F that. I'm turning, I'm beating this guy. Quick, shake. He did a little body feint, opens up his hips. You can't teach that. He's just playing. And I think that it's a level of authenticity within soccer that some people just naturally have. I was joking with David about this when he texted me, he's like, Yamal is so confident, dude. And I was like, yeah, he didn't take any confidence workshops or read any confidence books. Some people just have it. Yeah. And I think those that are able to continue to rise up in the ranks and say, like, screw this, I'm being myself, I think I have so much respect for them.
I don't know if I fully agree. I do feel that you have to commit to a structure that's bigger than you. I want to believe, well, first, so like Bernardo Silva's first season was very, very
underwhelming.
Yeah. But I think the highest expression of you in a team sport comes after you die for a moment to embrace a team point of view that in the end will amplify your individual skill. But that gap, I think, is actually what will make the difference or not. Because when I look at Messi, I choose to believe, and that's just my opinion, that Messi wouldn't have been Messi if he wasn't raised in La Masia.
You said he would or wouldn't have?
He wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I think being in a system that he's being taught how to think the game, you put that with his innate skill, I think that's what took him to that level. Yamal also is someone who's been in this system, and although it feels like they are so play-orientated, even when I look at Yamal versus Neymar, Yamal is very positional-orientated and very organized in the moments of when attack and when to just play a little bit more simple, and which gaps or when to play in this specific space, which I think Neymar didn't have enough time to fully take these principles or style of play. And so I think there has to be, for team sports, there has to be a death to yourself in a team structure. To then almost resurrect on the other side with all of what you have and what the beauty of a team sport is. And then the challenge then becomes, are you confident enough to be dead for a gap of time? And I don't know if there's enough teams that are, I think now with coaches being so much more prevalent in the style, it can be seen. But even, for example, at PSG,
Yeah.
there was tension between Mbappé and Lucien. Not tension, but they'll show videos on.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that they showed that, but that was the heat of the moment, or then. But I feel like they must have been okay.
Of course, yeah.
For that, seeing each other every single day. But there is something to say that PSG is playing, for me, better soccer as a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than with Mbappe. And I think it probably works both ways, because I think something that kills Pep is that he will never be able to do what he did with Barca, because nobody has the freedom that Messi had.
Mm-hmm.
And even if he wanted to give that to them, his persona has grown so much that people are not willing to break that. And not only do you break that, but when you break that, can you do what Messi does?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it was unique. That era was probably unique because Pep had grown in that system, and Messi had grown in that system, and so they were able to come together. But yeah, I think that gap of death to self for the team, if you hold on to it long enough, I wonder if, like, on the other side, we see a fucking monster.
Rebirth.
A rebirth, yeah. A rebirth of a player that's untouchable. Could Messi have done what Messi did in any other team for that amount of time? And I choose to believe, without taking away any of Messi's genius, Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets are so important to this. I don't know that if he plays for Manchester United or a Premier League team, this happens. Which I think is, for me as a coach, the beauty of the game, attempting to grab the individual and convince him of the collective, while allowing the individual to grab you and convince you of the individual.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think right now too, it's like difficult once you become a coach to recognize where the game is at right now, and everyone is talking about how there's no creativity anymore. But what's actually being done? Like, where are we seeing the opposite side of that? Where are we then allowing creativity? Because I get it. Once you become a coach, you need results. Like, I think a lot of times, if as a coach you're coaching out of fear, you're not going to allow as much creativity. And I think that's kind of a tricky part right now, because it's like, I think oftentimes, if they see that, like, for example, everyone now is inverting their fullbacks. There's trends that happen. And, you know, I one of my teams, we started inverting our fullbacks, and I was like, oh, that works. And so there's things too that, like, you're like, okay, do I want to tell them to do that, or am I giving them too much information? So it is a balance where, like, you have to provide structure and at the same time allow creativity.
I do think it has to do with fear of losing. But I also think, at least in the professional world, there's a pressure that's put now on coaches that you're gone after the season.
Yeah.
You know, versus I don't think that was the case maybe with Ferguson.
Yeah. I agree.
And I think that is such a drastic change in how the human copes with, do I die on my ideas as a coach, or do I just try to win games so that I'm here for longer? I choose to believe that in a different time, how do you pronounce the name of the previous Man U coach, the ball guy?
Ten Hag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That if you give him 10 years, he'll create a monster.
Yeah.
But he's in the wrong era.
Yeah.
You know?
No, you're right. Yeah.
When I look at the Ajax team that he created, like, he was not in the center of, not that Man U was at the center, but because of their history, they've been demanded more results.
Yeah.
And with Ajax, I saw an Ajax team that, like, whether they won or not, like, I would love that to be the way that, at least if I'm a coach, my teams play.
Yeah.
But I don't think yeah.
I agree, and it's interesting why that is. Like, now it's just so normalized to get fired as a coach, and it didn't feel like it was as frequent back in the day. And it's the third time I'm going to do this, but, like, in the NBA, when you look at, like, coaches are just there for I mean, they are getting fired a little bit more now, but, like, you know, Steve Kerr, the Warriors coach, like, a couple of years ago, you know, they're finishing, you know, bottom 3 or bottom 5 in their conference or whatever, and he's just chilling. He's like, oh, I'll get a draft pick. And I'm like, and then they're going to go back up. And it's like this. Whereas in soccer, it's like after 3 months, if you're a coach and you lose like 3 games in a row, the next game you could just be done. And so I think that forces you to coach out of fear. And you're right. And it's funny you mentioned the concept of like you either die by your ideas or you adapt to get results now. And Ruben Amorim, the current Man United coach, he came in and he said, we have a way that we're going to play. And he said, we're going to play that way. He did his first interview before the game. He's like, we're going to play this way. Nothing's going to change that. And they started to lose a couple games. They said, are you going to start to change it? He said, no, because I know what happens. That's when a coach gets fired. And same thing with Tottenham's coach, Ange Postecoglou. He has a very strict way of playing, very clear idea of how he wants to play. And for what it's worth, I know people talk about the players, the board, whatever. One of those teams is in 15th, the other's in 16th right now. So it's tricky right now, whereas it's like you either adapt or you die. And if they stuck with Ange, the Tottenham coach, for another 5 years, if they've there's no way that's going to happen. But like he very well, I think he probably would build a fantastic team. But it's the world that football has become.
What would you do if you were them?
Quit. I look at that right now with both of them and how they're. Amorim a little. I haven't watched as many of his press conferences, but
who?
The United.
United.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels like they're almost like, why am I here now? Why I regret this. And it's interesting because this could, we've talked a little bit about this, but both of them came from clubs where they were loved.
Yeah.
And they're now getting booed and they're getting hounded, and they know that comes with the job. But I think that there's that other illusion of the next step is always the best decision. That can definitely be an illusion.
So now they're thinking about their next step while they're at Man U and Tottenham.
More the fact that when they were at their old club, because Ange was at Celtic.
Oh, when they were
okay. And Amorim was at Sporting Lisbon. I think that there was this, and it's not their fault, and maybe they made the right decision, but it's the same thing when Graham Potter went from Brighton to Chelsea. Do you want to go where you're loved or where society says you need to go? And people always think the next step is the best step. Like always, like, okay, if you do well at this school for 3 years, then you can go there. Why can't I just do well at this school? Why does it always have to be a next step?
Why do we have that? Is it like, I guess is a human intrinsic rather than just in soccer? Like Luke, I don't know, or Luke has a different, like the Lakers guy.
Yeah.
But I do see it in all of athletics.
I think America, I know we're talking about Europe right now, but in anything that's like elite and driven, it's almost an addiction, success. And so you want to society tells us, take what's next, what's best for you. This is in our culture that is rat race, go, go, go. The next job is the best job. And I think that is what, and then the success is addicting. Okay, well, I did well here, I can do it there. And I think that I remember our good friend Ivan Blaskic was telling me, maybe we'll have to cut this, but he has a good friend that plays at a top club in Croatia. And he was getting some offers from the MLS that I think was like a lot higher pay. And he said, like, what do you mean? Like, why would I leave? I'm here in Croatia. I'm playing professional football around my family. And and so I think that it is definitely in some cultures where it's not as the world isn't as competitive. Maybe it's more just like, I just want to succeed. I want to continue succeeding here. Whereas in a lot of cultures where you're at the highest of elite levels, it's like you have to do that. And I think people make decisions based off what other people are telling them to do. Like, I've had that in my career where I get a job offer and people go, oh, you can't turn that down. What if I want to? What if I like where I'm at right now? What if I'm making an impact on these people right here? Screw them, because this is going to be the next best thing. What if that team loses? What if I get fired there?
How do you interrupt that?
Call Andres.
Call Andres and do what?
Listen.
Listen. What are questions that you ask when, for example, you call Andres?
Yeah. I'll give an example without leaving out names. I had a job offer about a bit ago, and I called you, and I said to you, my heart is telling me I don't want to take it. Everyone was telling me you have to take it, but I was like, I don't it doesn't feel right. And you were kind of like, doesn't sound like I really need to, sounds like you know what I mean? And so I think that often, I said something along the lines of like, I asked you actually, what question should I ask myself? So I asked you what I should ask myself.
And what did I say?
And you said,
I'm like at the edge of my seat. I'm like, what the hell did I say?
who is the who? That's what you asked, something along those lines.
Yes.
Where is the who here? And the who at the current.
What does that question mean?
The question means the people that you're working with, the people that you're impacting, who is the stronger who? Would it be in this new job, or would it be where you are right now? Mm-hmm. Have you stayed long enough at this current job to build that relationship with that who? And if you're saying yes to these people, what are you saying no to? What are you saying goodbye to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Continue with that. So after that conversation, like, who's the who? What happened after that?
I made a decision and I regretted it immediately, and I called the person. I said I took the job that everyone was telling me to take rather than actually sticking with my heart. I regret it immediately. I had something going on that I think was also not, I was getting a surgery within 3 days, and so I was really nervous about that. And so I think I wasn't thinking very logically. Mm-hmm. And I regret it right away. I said, my heart's telling me no. I called the person. He was actually really kind about it and said, and I stuck with the current job that I'm at, and it was one of the best decisions I made. I absolutely love it where I'm at, and I love the who of the people I work with, the people that I coach, and I stuck with the who. Maybe originally I didn't, but then I went back to it because you can't beat your heart. You can't beat your heart. Whatever your heart is telling you, it's telling you that for a reason.
Mm-hmm. And I think giving yourself permission to change your mind once you had articulated it.
Yeah.
That might be even harder than.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Why?
I made the decision. I was really down about how badly I made the decision, and I called you.
We feel like decisions are permanent.
And that's kind of what you said on the phone. I was like, you were like, what have you like signed a? Did you get like a tattoo of a new place or something? And I was like, no. He's like, then just call him and say, you can't. And I was like, okay. And then I did, and I remember, like, not to sound dramatic, but like I wasn't sleeping that night. Like that night I didn't sleep, and I was like waking up, or like I would like go to sleep and then I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, like, what's going on? And then I made the call and I was like, oh, and I was like, wow, what a good decision. I was like, but I'm back to ground zero. It was all to just end up at the same place.
Nothing happened.
Yes, it's like when you lose your keys, but then you find them and you're the happiest person in the world. You're like, but I have.
I'm where I started.
Yeah, I have my keys. I just keys, So.
That's an interesting, because I think that is a reflection of when we pursue happiness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you chase something and then you come back. And
yeah.
Oh, it was here.
And it also, we had a conversation over the phone this week where it also kind of shows you how important gratitude is. Something difficult happened to me this past week, and I remember prior to hearing this news on Monday, I was in such a good mood. And then once the news came, I was like, I would do anything to go back in time to where I didn't hear this prior to the 6 hours ago. Mm-hmm. But I was like, but 6 hours ago I was saying, oh, my hip hurts, I got to pay this, I got to do this. Yeah. And so it does kind of remind you of being able to actually appreciate what you have while you have it, rather than.
And it sounds so cliche.
It sounds so cliche. I know you don't like The Office, but there's a famous line where one of the guys.
Melissa in the studio today is dancing now.
Where I think Andy, as his character, says, "I wish there was a way to know that we were in the good old days before they were gone." So everyone talks about the good old days.
Yeah.
The good old days are now.
Yeah,
You're going to be 50 saying, "I remember when I was this, remember these days," and I think the same goes for what we were talking about earlier with that job where I didn't appreciate what I had. And then it's temporarily gone and you're like, you're so happy and you're like, but I didn't gain anything. And I'm like, so if I could just appreciate the happiness before having to go into this whole loop, it would, I think it's important.
Yeah. The 3 pillars in this podcast are relational intelligence, emotional intelligence, and character development. And we are convinced that if we find a way to be aware of these three in all of the moments. And it's not like they live separated from each other. I think, for example, the question of the who is trying to understand who are the people that I'm serving that move me most, and am I willing to give that up for this new challenge? And I think one of the things that I try my best to always, whenever you call me, is you can't make the wrong decision. And I don't know that that helps, but I do feel that we have the capacity using these three elements to be able to, whichever decision we make it the right decision. Sometimes Mel struggles with making decisions between anything that's more than one thing.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
And sometimes I try to help her by, yo, don't worry about the decision that you pick.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the right or wrong decision. Whatever you pick, make that the right decision.
Yeah.
And I think only looking at the relational part of things may, to some degree, make us miss a potential challenge that may make us grow.
Absolutely.
And if we take a challenge that may make us grow, we may be turning on a relationship that could have been life-changing. But then I think at the center comes character development, that whichever one you choose, you have to have the character to cope with it. And the character for you to be able to call back speaks so much of if you just said no in the first one. You actually were able to elevate the intensity or that you had to fight to go back and change your mind. And it's an interesting dynamic when we're trying to make decisions. I choose to believe that the who is the strongest drive in any decision. The more difficult part of things is when you come to the end of a who, and when you have to leave a who, and we're so textured. There's so many different layers to a person that you may not be leaving the entire person by making this decision. You may be leaving this project that I do with you, but you could still be a who, just not in this dimension. I do want to find a way in which we're always at our peak. Or actually, I do want to find a way for us to remind ourselves that we are actually always at our peak.
Yeah.
We just choose to limit our peak. So you were at your peak of recovering from however many surgeries. Like that is a peak of something. But instead we're like, had I not done this, I wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah.
When we think that there's a end or there's a finite expression of our peak, that's when I think we allow depression and hopelessness to come in, which is not that we're never not going to feel them, but they will last less if you think that you're always at your peak.
Yeah.
And it's just the point of view in which we limit when we're soccer players that our peak can only be expressed to the vehicle of soccer.
Yeah.
And I hope as a coach to help players feel that I don't care where you end up or where you are or what you do, I made you feel like you're at your peak of being a human.
Yeah.
And I think
At this moment.
At this moment, you're at your peak.
Yeah.
But no, people don't. It's either I'm not there yet or I was there.
Yeah, and it's such an illusion. It's such an illusion, especially the I'm not there yet, because you get there and then you're still thinking of the next thing.
So 2 questions to end.
Yeah.
The first one is, why are you at your peak right now?
What's the second one? Why am I at my peak right now? Let me take a second for that one. Yeah. I think I've learned a ton in this past year that have led me to where I am right now, psychologically, spiritually, however you want it. And there are things that I have learned that, such as what is important in life, that is helping guide my decisions and making me much more mature in life. For example, the concept of doing what's best for you and recognizing who is the who in your life. Those are 2 things that I didn't recognize the past 24 years of my life. And in this current moment, this current year, I now see life through the lens of that, of like putting yourself first and doing things in your life that will allow you to have the strongest relationships possible. That's something that I didn't used to know. And so I think for that, stereotypically, no, I'm not at the peak physically because of all these injuries, or I'm not at the peak of my soccer career, or whatever it may be. But I'm at my peak right now because psychologically I'm at a place where, you know, I get happy, I get sad, whatever, like every human being, but I am starting to just learn so much more. I have much more wisdom in that sense.
Than you've ever had.
Yeah, I think so.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And the second question is just if you wanted one thing that somebody would take away from this conversation, what would it be? The
biggest thing that anyone that could take away from this conversation is the concept of gratitude. And I think that I said this to you on the phone the other day, but like gratitude is something that everyone says is it's such a self-help kind of fad, whereas it's like, all right, do gratitude for 10 minutes a day. Yeah. No, that's not what I mean by that. What I mean is like actually recognizing what you have in this moment, rather than thinking that you will be happy when the next thing happens. And I just keep thinking back to anything in my life when something negative happens, an injury or whatever, and you go, what could have happened? I wish I could be 2 months ago and I didn't have this injury. But 2 months ago you were complaining about your grades in this class or whatever it may be. So actually recognizing what you have at this exact moment, your family members, your friends, your job, your passion, whatever it may be, because there's going to be a time where you wish you were in that exact moment.
It's good. I think whenever we don't believe we're at our peak, we've completely forgotten of anything that we're grateful for. I feel like when I'm at my peak, I acknowledge, regardless of my current situation, gratitude reminds me that I'm at my peak.
Yeah.
And any time that I don't feel that way, it means I'm at my most ungrateful moments. And if we can change that, I do think gratitude is one of the strongest things that we can hold on to.
Yeah.
And have people that remind you of that.
Yeah.
You know, because the reality is that it's easier said than lived.
Yeah.
And having people to remind you how good you're doing and how better you are than you've ever been.
Yeah.
Is not celebrated enough or mentioned enough.
Well, think about it. I know we got to wrap it up, but just on top of that, with gratitude and how important it is, it's like, what does every single religion in the world say? And when they pray, thank you God for this. Every single one. And religious people are statistically the happiest people. So it's just interesting how it's like, notice how in every book of wisdom, whether it's not just religious, but stoicism, philosophical practice, gratitude is the biggest one. They were able to recognize that thousands of years ago.
Yeah. I think it's something that has outlived everybody, and it's a timeless principle, I would say. You do have a soccer program called Flow.
Yes.
Okay. If you go and have an experience with Flow, what makes Flow different?
Well, we try to get we get players to enjoy themselves and think less when they're playing. That's the biggest thing. Is we want to get players to be as confident as possible when we're coaching them, and to the point that when they get to the field, they're thinking less.
Okay, so you think less and you're in flow.
Yeah.
So maybe the other name is Flowin', because
Flowin' with Owen is a podcast down the line. But
down the line.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I hope to be a guest. In
yes.
that
Oh,
podcast.
absolutely.
Owen, thank you so much for spending time with Andres.
Yeah.
With Carlos Andres.
Yes.
And this is just a small version of the things that we experience every time we sit down and have coffee.
Yeah, and that we're allowed to talk about.
And we're allowed to talk about.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of editing.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love you, man.
Love you too.
All right.